Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name's Christine, and this video is part of the Inky background series, and we are going to be using watercolor paints, and I am using the Kuretake paints. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a background and how to splatter with the paints. And then the next video, I'll be doing another technique with the same watercolor paints, so be sure to check that one out once it's posted. So this is my palette, and when I'm using watercolor paints, I like to go in with a water spritzer and just spritz all the colors, and it just helps to sort of activate them. Even if I don't end up using that color, I just like to get some water in them to get them start activating before I get started. I'm going to put them aside, and I'm just going to show you the great thing with watercolor paints is you can so easily just do a wash and make a really nice background. So it's a really quick way to start off a project. So I'm gonna do a little demo, and of course when I'm using watercolor paints I always work on watercolor paper. I'm doing a bigger background, so I have a bigger brush here, and I'm going to get water on it because I want it nice and watery. Now for that one I did a lot of blues, so maybe I'll go into reds this time. Ooh, that's a pretty pink. So I start by just getting one color, and then I'll just go in and pick up some orange, and I'll paint right over top. I'll paint in some open area. Go in with the color beside that pink. Let's see what color this is. Oh, a darker pink. Let's go darker. Let's see if this one's more red. So you can see these paints are very nice and bright. Yellow, I need a bit more water. If you were to get less expensive watercolors, there's many watercolors on the market, they may not have the same amount of pigment. So that's where the price difference comes in with watercolors, is how much pigment is actually in them. If you want a nice pigmented color, you're going to spend a bit more money. But if you have the inexpensive ones, you can still do the techniques, but you just won't get this like intensity of color. So I like this. I think that's a really nice base, so I am going to dry it. Okay, so that is dry enough for me. So now it's time to have fun and add a few splatters. So for doing splatters, you want a nice wet brush, and I'm going to go in with some blue and even touch it a bit more to water. And then you hit down on your brush. I find round brushes work well for this technique, but see what brush you have around. And in between each time I splatter, I want to dry it a bit, so if the next color comes and hits that same splatter, it helps keep each color individual rather than blend and make a big mess. So I'm going to Now again, if you have some splatters that were really wet, you can go in, and then I like the look of that too, where it ends up being just a little sort of watery splat. I can go in with the color that I used on it. And splattering is a way to add texture that can still fall into the background, but it just makes it a little bit more interesting than just the basic painted background. So here I'll show you the difference. So just the plain background versus the background with the splatters. And then on this sample here, you can see I splattered lots of different colors onto white as well, which could be really cool as a background. So that gives you two ways that you can use your watercolor paints. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. And for more Inky backgrounds, be sure to check out the Inky background playlist.